the weapon that you see today. This is also a real Insight Technologies integrated sight module up here, ISM. Now, let me take you through the XM8. It started out as the 5.56 rifle underbarreled component to the OICW, the Objective Individual Combat Weapon, which was intended to be a grenade launcher on top and a 5.56 rifle below. Alliant Tech was the ones who were pushing that. HK was in charge of actually making the weapons. Thing really never went anywhere. There was a decision in the late 90s and whatnot to bust the two apart, essentially have the grenade launcher as a standalone component and the rifle as a standalone component, and the rifle being the XM8. And the theory was that this would become the new service rifle to replace the M4 and the M16 family in US military service. Politics ultimately did it in, but the concept in many ways was revolutionary, and to this day, weapons like the Bushmaster ACR developed by Magpul were inspired by the XM8. It was very much a plug-and-play modular weapon. Retractable buttstock. They also had one with a collapsible MP5 style skeleton buttstock, if you will. Lower hinges down. You also had different handguard lengths, different barrel lengths, so you can configure it in a compact assault rifle, a standard length, a longer one like this is called the sharpshooter variant. This is also intended to have a magnified optic on it, or you could put the red dot on it. They also had a light support weapon version, which is essentially this longer barreled version, but had a handguard with bipod legs that folded up in. The magazine interchanged with the G36, and as a matter of fact, internally it's very much like a G36. Very reliable, robust weapon with a gas system adapted from the AR-18, or of course the World War II German G43 and Soviet SVT-40. Bolt carrier is adapted from the AR-18. G36, very reliable weapon. This particular weapon is reliable also. Now, a few of the changes they made on it as opposed to the G36, magazine release down here, instead of being the AK style flapper you see on a G36, they extended these two little levers back so you could actuate it with your trigger finger and drop the magazine. Bolt release on the G36, the bolt hold open I should say, is just a tab here that goes up when the bolt's locked to the rear. To release the bolt, you have to pull the charging handle back to chamber a new round. The XM8 style has this L-shaped tab down here. When the bolt locks to the rear, you can come up with your trigger finger and push this down and release the bolt back forward. Those were XM8 upgrades. Now you see some of the styling with the swoop finish and the little knobby here on the pistol grip and the swoop back here. HK actually got Audi involved, some people from the automotive industry, to help kind of with the design of this gun. It's also another one of the reasons why you hear people call it the tuna or the fish gun based on its design. As time went on, they integrated a folding sight up front, folding sight in the rear. The integrated sight module came online from Insight Technologies. Good thing about it is the red dot sight is slaved to the infrared and the visible laser. So once you zero the red dot sight, you've now zeroed the lasers as well. Downside is Insight Technology is not really the world leader in red dot sights. I always felt like when I was working with HK at the time, they should have partnered up maybe with Aimpoint and had Aimpoint handle the red dot side of it. Although that didn't really go anywhere, that was my thought process behind it, and let Insight Technology stick with the IR and the Viz laser. Like I said, politics kind of did this gun in, as well as the gun never really met its weight objective. It was kind of billed to be an incredibly lightweight weapon. It was always a little bit heavier than what it was supposed to be. Also had issues with heat, which a G36 has to this day. A lot of polymer guns do. When they get hot, they stay hot, and the XM8 was no exception. As time went on, they beefed up the handguards and put more of a heat shield in it. Another interesting thing that HK come up with was P-caps. The general that was in charge of the XM8 wanted to get away from Picatinny rails. All right, in that regard, you got to kind of give them kudos, because a lot of people have went in that direction today when you look at M-LOK and Keymod. P-cap at the time was HK taking their old scope mounting system they had used on some of their hunting rifles and integrated it into the handguard, both sides and on the bottom, and also the attachment point for the ISM. Picatinny Combat Attachment Point. And essentially you put it in and throw lever or cam in the accessory into these holes right here. A lot of ways kind of a predecessor to Keymod. Of course, the downside to it is you're locked into these four. You don't have any more accessory points to front or back. So if you want to move your white light or your vert grip or whatever, you really didn't have that option. We're fixing to light this thing up for you. XM8 was a good gun. It had a lot of potential. I was a fan of it. Wouldn't necessarily say that I would grab it over something today, but at the time, it was a gun that kind of got a bad reputation, didn't really deserve it. We got some MagTech 5.56 ammo on board for you. Once again, special thanks to my good friend Tom Bostic, Tommy Built Tactical, for bringing this to light. I hope you enjoy it. HK XM8.